Hey guys, as we know, FIFA 16 is coming out on the 25th of September, and there's many things that need to be improved on this year's game in order to make it better than last year. Last year's game was good, but it could be better. There was a few things that could be improved on it, quite notable things. But this video is just going to be a talk about what EA needs to do to make FIFA 16 a better game and what issues it needs to fix in order to make FIFA 16 a game that is truly better than last year's. Now, one of the first things EA has to improve for next year's game is, of course, the goalkeeping. Pretty much every version of FIFA prior to FIFA 15, to FIFA 14, FIFA 13, they pretty much were just bowling pins inside the net. Basically, they did nothing. And this year, EA decided, you know, it'd be a good idea if you made the keepers completely unable to do anything. What I mean by this is, bringing the keeper out, for example, is suicidal. It only takes a finesse shot and you pass the keeper and goal. Another good example, when the goalkeeper's going in to catch a corner, sometimes it'll just drop it, or he'll mess up and just not handle it at all, and it'll just go in. Things like that, easy goals that really could have been avoided but weren't. Things like that annoy the majority of FIFA fans because it just ruins games. It just puts people off the game because no one's going to actually feel like they have a chance. There you are, look. That's a good one. But yeah, it's just things like this that just annoy FIFA fans, and I hope EA changes it in FIFA 16, makes the keepers act and feel more like real beings rather than robots who are trained to not actually do goalkeeping. So yeah, first thing we need to fix, goalkeeping. Another aspect of FIFA 16 that needs to be improved in the final game is the refereeing. Now, we all know that the refereeing in FIFA 15 is absolute garbage, and here's why. First of all, they'll give decisions against your team that you didn't do. For example, they'll give the other team a free kick for a foul that they committed, or they'll send off a player on your team that wasn't even worthy of a red, let alone a yellow. You know, it's things like that, little decisions like that. Also, they just seem to have no understanding of the offside rule. This is one thing that really annoys me. Why not? If you're going to do offside rule, fair enough. Why do you have to wait until the player has run through on goal, scored, and then tell me he was offside when I could have actually spent my time passing it to a player who wasn't offside, rather than telling me that I was offside when I have scored? You know, it's things like that that just anger us as players because it's just game-ruining experience. Another thing that annoys me about is the referees in general and the linesmen, is that half the time those offside decisions aren't actually offside. They've just given them because they feel like it. Oh mate, it's just so annoying. It's just so frustrating for players. Another thing that's wrong with the referees is that they completely transform the outcome of a match. If you're in like the 90th minute and you're in the final of a cup and you're rightfully winning because you've used Barbo and what have you, because let's face it, they're the only actual good players in this game, which will lead me on to my next point. If you're using those players and you score, you go 1-0 up, 2-0 up, whatever, in the last minute, if it's 1-0 and he gives a penalty for things like that shouldn't have been a penalty, and they score, then you've been cheated out of a win. Things like that, you know, bad AI, bad referee AI, not having a clue what they're doing, you know, things like not understanding the offside rule, things like that just aggravate us. So yeah, EA, fix this also. My next point that I'd like to make is one of the most annoying ones that I find in FIFA 15, which is players, so upper class players like Ronaldo or Messi, or you've got like the lower players, say the bronze or the silvers. I can't notice any reasonable golfing class. Like, I could play with the bronze team, and I'm sure you guys all know this as well. I could play with the bronze team against the gold team, and don't give me handicap because that is a thing, yes, but that affects it in a different way. I could play with a bronze team against the gold team and still put up a reasonable fight. I really do not see between players a reasonable golfing class. You'd expect players like Messi to outclass them completely, but I've got a friend who I always play. I play against his Korean team quite often. It's a bronze team. I play using my full team of the season BPL team, and I can't beat him most of the time because the defenders, right? The defenders have got like 50 pace. They somehow can manage to catch up, right, with 95 Hazard and 93 Sanchez running down the wings. It's just stupid. The way how, I mean, fair enough, they want to make a fair game experience, but you don't have to do it in such a way that the whole experience is destroyed, because you can spend 4 or 5 million on players and not make a single difference. That's partly why this year it's so much more harder than last year. Last year, players actually felt better. Like, you can have an 88 rate, you can have 88 Van Persie, right? Here's another point actually, I'm going to make it sort of crosses on, but it's the same thing. You can have 88 Van Persie, right? Who has got, what, 90 odd shooting? And then you can put him up against Barbo, who is now a 78, who's got like 75 shooting and 90 odd pace. And I can guarantee you, every time, Ibarbo will be the one getting the hat-trick or scoring the most goals or whatever, because of pace. Pace has been a major issue now for multiple iterations of FIFA, all the way pretty much from the start of Ultimate Team. It's just an annoying issue that needs to be fixed, or not needs to be fixed, but it needs to be nerfed. Last year, EA nerfed crossing. Now, pretty much you can't cross and expect it to go in every time like you could last year. Next year, they need to actually do something about the pace, because it's just stupid the amount of times I found myself in a situation where I would normally be able to stop it, but I just can't. It's just ridiculous. So EA, another thing to fix, gulfing classes between players, and sort of the way that you can get outpaced and outclassed by players that shouldn't really be able to do that. Another thing that EA need to fix for next year's FIFA is an aspect of Ultimate Team which has been bugging me and many other players for quite a while now, and it is on the issue of coins. I'm sure you've all heard that EA have decided to introduce price ranges to FIFA 15. Personally, I think it's a good idea. I just think they shouldn't have waited as long as they did. If they were going to do it, fine. Do it at the start of the game. When you do it in the middle of a game, it messes up everything. We had loads of problems. For instance, players didn't sell, you couldn't buy anyone, there was loads of players that were extinct. Some of them still are, some players still don't sell. But I think price changes will be a good idea next year if they introduce it from the start of the game, but I digress. That's not the point I was going to make. The point I was going to make was that EA do not give us enough coins when we complete matches. We get 400 odd coins from games, and we get 2,000, 3,000, whatever for winning the tournament, including some packs sometimes, but 400 coins just isn't enough. It's just not. It'll take you an abnormal amount of time to save up for any form of good player. And of course, EA being EA, the money horse, the only way that you can actually get good players now, EA saves through FIFA points. Of course, this hasn't stopped people from just buying FIFA coins, but FIFA points are the only way you can legitimately get good players now, and this annoys me about EA. The fact that they're just such a money-grabbing company, they won't settle for losing a tiny little bit of the revenue. EA Sports, think of all the other games they made in the NBA, they make Battlefield, they make Titanfall, all these games, and they're bothered about losing a tiny little bit of revenue from one bit of the game. If you're going to do FIFA points, fine, loads of games with microtransactions and DLC, but if you're going to do it, make them cheaper. It's 79p for what is effectively the equivalent of a case worth of FIFA points, effectively. It's just no, it just doesn't work. Okay? Doesn't work. So EA, you need to get on this, because otherwise, it's not FIFA 16 next year won't work. Price ranges, fine, keep that in, that's a good feature, but don't give players nothing for the amount of time they spend on your game. Finally, one more issue I'd like to talk about before I call an end to this very ranty video is defending. I touched on this slightly in the one where I said about the differences in player quality, but it just winds me up again. Another thing that winds me up with FIFA. Right, you've got Colatore, okay, who's what, 81 or something? Right, we've got Colatore, who somehow, in the minds of Electronic Arts, is able to keep up with Messi or Ronaldo, or Mertesacker can keep up with I'm trying to think of a quick player now, Hazard. It just annoys me how the defenders can be so bad at some points. Like, they'll just run away from the ball sometimes, they won't mark players, it's just really bad. But then you get other times where they just completely excel themselves, like they're not being outrun by a player with better than 90 pace. It just doesn't make any sense. I really hope that EA do fix this next year, because as much as it's an advantage for you when you can keep up with the sweaty teams with like Dumbia and Ibarbo in, at the same time it's probably the worst thing about the game. I'm not sure how it was previous years, because I've only ever played 14 and 15. I'm quite a new bloomer to the FIFA community, but I know that this year it's just been horrendous. Like, the AI have just been poor this year. Pretty much the only defending they can do is heading it clear. Other than that, I found it very difficult to actually perform proper defensive movements with the players in this year's game. It's just dumb. It's just really dumb, and I hope it changes for FIFA 16, because if it's anything like FIFA 15, I'll just burn the disc and get PES, because it's just not worth it. Just playing another year of hatred and shouting and controller smashing, it's just not worth it. But yeah, this concludes my list of things that EA needs to fix for FIFA 16, next year's release. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you've got any suggestions or ideas on areas where EA should improve, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Like this video, share it, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.